It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. Ulike. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
What's up? It's the Pete Sousa Show coming at you live from the Alico building in Waco, Texas. 21st floor. We got a great view today. Beautiful day in Central Texas. Scotty Swingler guest hosting for Pete Sousa. Zach Burke helping me out on the Wheels of Steel today. We got a great show coming up for you. Want to thank really quickly the folks who make this happen for us, though. Of course, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, D1 Dallas, Socorro Family Ford and West, and of course our friends at Slovaceks and West. Pete's converted me, man. I'm never going to check stop again, Zach. I'm going to stop at Slovaceks anytime I'm driving through West and need a little snack, or even if I don't, I'll probably go get one anyway, because that's what it's like when you drive through West. You got to stop, and if you've watched this show, you know we prefer to stop at Slovaceks. Well, hey, I don't want to delay any time. today, we're going to go straight to our friend, the host of the Pete Sousa Show. Pete Sousa joins us from Oklahoma City, where he is broadcasting the Big 12 softball tournament. What's up, Petey?
Man, it's great to be with you, Scotty. How's everything back there? All right. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
We are off to an infinitely better start than we were yesterday, my friend. Welcome in. What's going on? Tell us what happened yesterday. I will admit I did watch one game yesterday, and I bet you could guess which one.
Yeah, Baylor lost, and that was a bummer of a game. I mean, they were just kind of overwhelmed. Texas Tech is so good. That pitcher Nyjah.
No, I was gonna say she's incredible, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty cool story there. She was just to give. This is kind of like what our show is all about. She played at Stanford, and they were trying to keep her there, but from what I've heard, they could only muster up like $250,000 to keep her there, which is a lot for a softball player. But they found a way at Texas Tech to get her like $1 million. And so when she got that offer, you just can't refuse it. And you know what's interesting yesterday? Being at the ballpark and seeing all the people that came out in 24 Kennedy jerseys, right? Like, they're all her family. And when you think about it, like, that money really can change a lot of things, right? And they can really help a lot of people in your family. A lot of times I think we miss that when we see these kids are taking money, whether it's Rob Wright, and that gets us all upset, right? Or whether it is, Nyjah Kennedy doing it at Texas Tech. A lot of times, there's people we don't even know that are benefiting from this money. And it can really improve the quality of life for their families. And so that's the vibe I got from Nyjah Kennedy. Just a great kid. Seemed like a really good family and an amazing pitcher, dude. She's just dominant. Like, she left the game towards in the 7th inning, and they had done so many different things. Like, they pinch hit for her, they pinch ran for her. She was taken out of the game. And honestly, Kat Osterman, who I was doing the game with, thought she might not be able to come back in because
did you ever get an explanation for how? Because I heard you and Kat both on the broadcast kind of like, I don't know how she's able to get back.
Yeah, Kat was like, I don't know how she's able to come back in. And I really wasn't able to figure it out. Kat basically told me that Jerry Glasgow, the coach of Texas Tech, did a brilliant job of working his scorecard, right, his lineup card, where there are loopholes. And he found them because ultimately, Glenn Moore is one of the best coaches in college softball for Baylor. He didn't take issue with it. So it was clear whatever they did was within the rules. So she comes back in the game or comes out of the dugout, right? They had this girl, Rhea Seto, in, and Baylor was really getting to her. And it was like, oh boy. Because the lead was only, I think, 4-0 or something. So that was like
4-0, and Baylor loaded the bases. I was getting excited.
Yeah, and then like Darth Vader, she comes back out of the dugout
in her mask.
I was like, oh man, and so that was that. But the tournament in itself has been amazing. I will say, having done this for a few years, and I love the Big 12. There's a little bit. The Oklahoma juice is gone. And what I mean by that is, there were people making the short trip from Norman. There were even Oklahoma bandwagon fans who would show up and fill up the stands and stuff. And, today is a semifinal day, so I'm sure there'll be a really good crowd there because that stadium's amazing. But it wasn't the second day, the quarterfinal day. Didn't have the juice that you get with Oklahoma and Texas because you got two teams who you could arguably say are just as good, but Arizona State, Utah, they're coming from the opposite side of the country now. So that does change things a little bit.
So give us the update on the other results. Where are we standing? So Baylor did lose to Texas Tech. That probably
today's games. I'll make it easy for you. Today's games are Texas Tech and Arizona State. That starts at 3 our time, and then following that will be Arizona and Iowa State. So it's kind of cool. All like the stars really advanced. So I'm pumped to see like some more pitching today from Kennedy. Arizona State has this girl, Kenzie Brown, who struck 13 batters out yesterday. And for me, honestly, here's another thing, an aside, because I didn't get to talk about it too much yesterday. I get to call a lot of sports, but like, it's rare I get paired. Like, I don't get paired with like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, players of those magnitudes. Obviously, Kobe is tragic passing, never would, or Tom Brady. But when I'm doing softball, they pair me with like last year I was with Natasha Watley, one of the best softball players of all time, won a bunch of medals and all these Hall of Fames. And now I'm with Kat Osterman. And it is cool to just see how these amazing athletes who are at the very tippy top of their sport comport themselves. And it's fun just to not only are we calling a game, but I get to ask her all about her process, how she got to be who she is. And I think that's kind of cool because you imagine a lot of young softball players are watching. So I'm getting her to tell me just how seriously she took her bullpens. How did she take those warm-up pitches? Like, how do you approach those pitches? You know what I mean? Like when a coach comes to the mound, where do you try to get your headspace? And like really one thing I came up with, and it's like, we should have known already, or I should have known already. The process that these exceptional athletes have is just so rigid, right? They have such a process of how they do things and how they go about getting ready. It's really cool to see, especially for a joker like me. It's like, wow, it's pretty amazing,
Listen, it's what most of our parents taught us when we were children, right? Is like, if you can be disciplined at practicing and working at the things you love, that's how you get great at it, right? So awesome that you're, dude, I'm seriously very envious that you get to hang out with.
I'm pissed you're not here, but that's another story. But
yeah, well, hey, she's a legend, and I'm envious you get to work with her. Hey, I'm going to let you go in just a second, but I did want to get your thoughts. We had breaking news this morning that UNC, and we've talked about this story a few times on this show, and I don't think it's because we're like particularly juiced about this story, but it just keeps giving us this content. UNC has banned Jordan Hudson, Bill Belichick's girlfriend, from the football facilities. The quote from Pablo Torre is, she's no longer allowed in the football building, and she's not allowed on the football field. I don't think you'll be hearing much from Jordan moving forward. Really fascinating development. You and I kind of called this last week saying, like, UNC is a very prestigious, elite institution that probably isn't going to tolerate a lot of shenanigans. What's your reaction to their decision to ban Hudson?
Yeah, we've really never seen this before, right? We've seen coaches' wives be a part of things unofficially. Like you look at Miss Terry, right? Nick Saban's
Big
wife.
time.
But a real positive impact on the team, kind of another mother to some of these young men. Same thing with you can go all the way back to Lute Olson and his wife, Bobby Olson, right? There were all those great love stories that showed hey, this is a family here. This is the exact opposite of that. This is your dad, getting divorced and bringing home this woman who is really kind of messing up the dynamic of your winning family. And I think that's the way the Belichick see it. And I think that's the way that UNC sees it. I also think it's kind of how Bill Belichick sees it, because in my opinion, having been there before in a toxic relationship, there's nothing better than when an institution or a friend or someone will take the bat out of your hands, and I can look over there and say yo, they say you can't come. I don't know what to do, but I think Belichick could be moving himself away from the situation, because if Bill Belichick was being Bill Belichick and flexing his muscle, I think it would have been a bigger deal. You know what I mean? Hey, I want her to stay.
Right.
And UNC's well, you can't. And then it's well, I'm going to take a leave of absence or blah, blah, blah. This almost seems to have gone too smoothly, where it was they got with Bill and Bill was all right, I'll just tell her, or somebody can tell her. I'll tell her, Bubba, the AD of North Carolina. Now we're talking about him again, another juicy story after the NCAA tournament selection of North Carolina. I'll tell her that you said she can't come. And I think that's a possibility. But either way, she's not going to be around. And I think that's good for the program. I think it's actually good for everybody. This is an ugly story. It's fun to cover, but at the same time, these are real people's lives. And it's good to have some sort of intervention here, because you don't want to see this young woman continue to get raked over the coals in the court of public opinion. She's a person,
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Man, it is a wild time in the world when we're talking about Bill Belichick, girlfriend.
What does Zach think? Is Zach over there?
Zach is over here. Yeah. Come in, Zach. Say what's up to Pete.
I don't know how I can.
I don't know how I can get on here and talk. Oh, there you go.
Do know that. No, I think that this was going to be something that was going to be a problem if they didn't do something to kind of like force their hand in a way. But I do agree. This did go very smoothly in a sense that it does seem like they were like, come on, Bill. After that interview, like, really?
Yeah.
Well, and listen, this is what Cam said to us earlier this week, right? Is like something's going to give. Like the Bill Belichick we have known for decades doesn't let anything get in the way of football, period. And so as soon as this starts affecting, I mean, in college, like, does this affect recruiting conversations? Does this, it's not a surprise, I think, to any of us that this didn't extend through the summer into the season.
I think you make a great point, and I think how Cam would say it is, we've talked about the fact that Bill Belichick could not let this go any further, and we'll talk about that next more on the Cam Show.
That's pretty good, Pete. Pete, anything else before we?
No, man, you guys are great, Scotty. I caught some of the show yesterday. Shahan is awesome. I got a project for you. Okay, it's a simple project. I want you to think about some of the best Big 12 quarterbacks, right? College quarterbacks that still live in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Waco, Central Texas area. Okay, and I need you to tell me who they are. All right.
Okay. So all-time Big 12 quarterbacks who are still near DFW or Central Texas.
Yeah, and they got to be alive, obviously.
I'm sure there's quite a few. Yeah.
I know you know, but I'm working on a project where I might need some. So
all right.
Let me. And I was talking to a guy yesterday at the Big 12, and I was like, oh, I know a dude who will have an idea of some of these dudes. And
hey, if you extend your search to Houston, that's where Robert Griffin is. So
yeah, but he's too big time.
Yeah. Okay. So you want great Big 12 quarterbacks, but not actually like
who are accessible and won't cost $1 million to sit down with.
Okay. Yeah. I'll start digging into that for you, man.
Just think about it. All right.
Okay, man.
All right. You guys are the best. Seriously, you're doing a great job. And Zach, it's fun to have you back up in the treehouse with us. I just love it. So yeah.
There we go. There we go. All right. Pete Sousa from Oklahoma City. Catch him on ESPN.
Hey, first game today. Honestly,
softball.
First game, I was just texting with Glenn Moore, and he's so bummed. I love that dude so much. We're so lucky to have him in Central Texas, like so lucky. But Baylor's out. I say that, but first pitch is at 3 p.m. Central Time. Arizona State, Texas Tech. I'm telling you guys, it's me, and if you're watching the show, you can tolerate me, and Kat Osterman, who's one of the best softball players of all time, and you can watch one of the best pitchers in the world right now, Nyjah Kennedy, with that $1 million arm, and you can see why she is so special. So it's a parachute in, hang out with us for a little bit. Kennedy goes both ways too. She might hit a home run and might no hit Arizona State. But Arizona State has this young woman, Kelsey Hall, who's awesome, has an amazing story. So check it out. All right.
Sounds good, Pete. We'll be with you on ESPN Plus, man. See you Monday.
Yeah, I'll be back. See you Monday.
Great. We'll do it again Monday.
All right, fellas. Later.
Yeah, Pete Sousa joining us from Oklahoma City, Big 12 softball tournament. Check that out today on ESPN Plus. I did want to make a couple more comments on the Jordan Hudson thing real quickly, and then we'll take a break and get to my buddy Terrance Ganaway in just a second. Bear the Truth says, hey, Jordan, here's my credit card. Have fun at the mall. See you after the season. That's good, brother. That's good. Okay. Here are my thoughts on this. First of all, and I've said this to a few people in the past few weeks, like there's some cultural wisdom, some societal wisdom we have in America that just kind of goes like, keep your work and dating life separate, right? Like generally speaking, that's just a good policy. Maybe you have a story about that going poorly, or you have a friend that has a story about that going poorly. And this is that times 10, right? Like, because this isn't just work and dating life that we're overlapping. This is like work and dating life. And also, Bill Belichick is a celebrity who hates being in the spotlight, but he's arguably the greatest NFL head coach of all time and a surefire Hall of Famer. And you know, you add in the age gap thing, and it just adds more of this media firestorm, pop culture attention thing. So this was never going to end well, especially when Jordan Hudson started getting involved in Bill Belichick's work. As I said to Pete, this is probably the fourth time we've talked about this topic on this show, because we've been anticipating something like this, that there was going to have to be a breaking point where the university made a decision, or Bill Belichick made a decision to move on and do something different. UNC is an elite academic institution. If you've never kind of lived in the Southeast, I spent a summer in Georgia in college during an internship, and kind of got to know the culture just a little bit. And UNC is seen very much as like one of the top flight, prestigious, white collar, like I don't want to say like Ritz and ritzy and preppy, but kind of is. It's kind of the vibe of the school. They were never going to tolerate this for long. I also wanted to go ahead and just directly address, if you're watching the show or watching this segment back later, we got a lot of comments on the last couple videos we did covering this that either said, hey, leave it alone, they're both adults, they can do what they want, or we got a lot of comments that kind of said the opposite of like, this is disgusting, Bill Belichick's just gross. And I just want to make it clear that our intention on the Pete Sousa Show is not to say either of those things. We're commenting on this because it's big sports news. Like this is going to be all over every sports show today. This is a Hall of Fame coach who already made headlines by making his return in college, which is shocking, right? That he wasn't back on an NFL sideline, and he's at North Carolina, of all places. And this 24-year-old comes in seemingly out of nowhere and seems to manage and manicure his reputation, dictate the rhythms of his life. It's been bizarre. And as Pete said, and I just want to reiterate, Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick and all these are real people. And I think all of us want them to be well and safe and happy. And this situation has been way too public and way too messy. And it's brought out some of the worst in us as a society, I think. Comments like that, where we're trying to get way involved in people's personal life. That's not what we want to do. We just want to talk about the sports side of it. So I have two questions now as we go into the summer and get ready for the 2025 football season. Two questions that come out of this story for me. One, how does this affect game day? So, like, is Jordan Hudson, I know I read in Pablo Torre's report, she's not allowed in the facility and she's not allowed on the field. Is she allowed to come to games? Can Belichick put her in a suite? Like I'm really interested to see. And if she's in a suite, by the way, are we going to have like Taylor Swift style cutaways every 2 minutes to Jordan Hudson standing in the window, like rooting on UNC? I think this, some of the drama of the story is not going to go away. And then B, I think this gives Bill Belichick a much shorter leash at the helm of this program. I think if you hire Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick and he comes in and does his thing and it takes, maybe he has like a Matt Rule arc, right, where it takes a couple seasons to get everything implemented, and by year 3 you're winning football games, I think that would be acceptable. But now I'm honestly wondering, if UNC comes out and wins 5, 6 games this fall, at what point does the administration go, yeah, this ain't even worth it? Like, it's not even worth it. Like, we hired this guy to win football games, and we're a 500 team, right? I think his leash now is going to be much shorter. That's really fascinating to me. So even though we've moved on from maybe Jordan Hudson being in the building or micromanaging the social media accounts for UNC or anything like that, I do wonder how it affects stuff this fall. I don't think this is the last time we'll be talking about it, although I do hope for her sake this quiets down a little bit as we get into the summer months. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, my friend Terrance Ganaway is going to join us. We're going to talk a little Baylor football. Listen, Baylor football on social media seems to me to be kind of a divisive point in that, it seems that some people feel like Baylor could be at the top of the Big 12, and others are like, why do people think Baylor's going to be good? They won 8 games last year, right? So we're going to talk to Terrance about his expectations for this Baylor team coming out of spring camp. Don't go anywhere. This is the Pete Sousa Show. Talk to you after this break.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Welcome back to the Pete Sousa Show. My name's Scotty Swingler. Happy to be hosting for Pete, and I'm going to bring in one of my good friends and someone who knows a lot about football because he played it at a very high level, my friend Terrance Ganaway, former Baylor running back, co-host of the Please Bear With Me podcast with Scotty Swingler. Terrance, what's going on, dude?
Nothing much, Scotty. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing okay. Thanks so much for calling us. You're on the road. You're working today, but we appreciate your time. Hey, man, real quick reaction. Bill Belichick's a Hall of Fame football coach. He comes down to the college level, and now he's got a girlfriend getting banned from the facility at UNC. If you're a player in that locker room, how do you feel about any of this?
You know, I think I admire Bill Belichick and what he was able to build with the Patriots. And, I mean, he has a storied legacy. So I think they would probably think of that before some of these distractions. As I talk about distractions, I know Bill Belichick was always do your job, leave all the nonsense out of the locker room. Like, we got games to win here.
Right.
And since he's been the head coach of the Patriots, it seems like he's been the exact opposite. I know he does a show, so we get to see him. And he comes on to different shows on some of these sports broadcasting networks. And so we get to see him in a different light than to be the stoic coach that's trying to get his team pumped for, back-to-back Super Bowls as he's done throughout his career. I think it says something from UNC's standpoint to make this declaration and say, hey, we don't want her around. We hired you to coach football. You can do whatever you want to do as long as it's, not detrimental to the program, outside of the program. But we need you to coach football. And I don't think that last interview that, Bill Belichick had and his girlfriend kind of interjected, I don't think it did him any favors. And, he's realizing that. I also would like to say that Bill Belichick is probably smarter than a lot of us. So he probably led that and said, hey, can we just get her out of here? You know how it is.
Yeah,
we get our friends.
Listen, that's what Zach and Pete and I were actually talking about in the last segment is Bill Belichick at minimum was totally okay with the administration making this decision, if not part of it,
100%.
right? So we agree.
Yeah.
We agree on that. Hey, let's talk Baylor football, man. And you and I do the show. Please bear with me. We had a few episodes this spring. We'll be back this August to cover the whole football season. Something you and I have kind of gone back and forth on a few times is I'm really excited to see Sawyer Robertson develop and what kind of leap he can take in year 2 as the bona fide starter. But you've talked a lot in response to that about how perhaps actually the most important piece of last year's success was not Sawyer, but it was Jake Spavital and Jake Spavital's offensive scheme. I think it's no question that the offense we saw on the field last year was easily the closest we've had to like that Bryles era, open it up and spread it out. It wasn't the same, but it was much more reminiscent than anything else we've had in the past decade. Can you just tell Baylor fans what you like about what Spav does on offense and what concepts kind of make that work for him?
Yeah, Spavital, and I've said this several times, I think Sawyer Robertson needed Spavital more than Spavital needed Sawyer. But I do think they complement each other extremely well. When you think about some of the tutelage that Spavital has had, he's been with great coaches like Gus Malzahn, Mike Norvell, been in the same locker room, obviously with Dana Holgorsen and Cliff Kingsbury when he was at Houston under Coach Sumlin. Case Keenum, just think of Geno Smith, Cam Newton, Nick Marshall. These are the type of coaches and players that he's been around. So when you get a guy like Sawyer Robertson finally healthy, where he isn't any of all those at once, but he's a dang good thrower, and he's mobile, and he has this cerebral instinct to him because he's played and been in college for so long and seen so many systems. Now being in the second year of the same system, I bet Spavital and Sawyer Robertson are going to be a lot more hand in glove than we've seen in the past. And so I don't know if it reminisces what Browse did or what we saw in the early 2010s with the Big 12 offenses. But I would say that it's definitely different than the Grimes style offense where, it's 2 tight end sets and we're trying to run and establish a run. I don't think by any means Jake Spavital is getting away from the run with the 2 running backs that he has on the roster and bringing in a really talented running back from Oklahoma. But what his schemes allow him to do is to be very versatile, and then he has a quarterback that can go out there and execute. So people should be very excited about what Jake Spavital can do in year 2 with Sawyer Robertson. Now we just need to make sure everyone stays healthy and they come out there and have a great season.
And Frank,
I'll throw in Johnny Manziel as well as one of the coaches he coached after his Heisman season. So the guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to work with elite athletes, and he's going to get Sawyer Robertson to elite status. And I think we're going to have fun riding this roller coaster.
Man, I love everything you just said there. That's awesome. And Spav one thing, if you look at his career, he's never stayed at one place long. I mean, it seems like he's moving jobs pretty frequently. I don't think that's a slight at him. It's just kind of, if you look at his resume, it's just true. So I was thrilled he stayed. I don't think we were guaranteed a year 2. I don't think we're guaranteed a year 3. But we'll see how this season goes. You mentioned those running backs, and I wanted to ask you, Bryson Washington set a freshman record last year rushing the football for Baylor. I think he's better than most people think. He's still not really on that national radar for most people, but as I was watching Big 12 play, a lot of good running backs in Big 12 play last year. Terrance, Devin Neal, Tosh Brooks, Ollie Gordon, the conference was pretty stacked in terms of the running back position, and I could argue Bryson Washington was the most impressive guy I saw all season. Granted, again, that offense helped open some big holes for him, but you played the running back position at an elite level at Baylor. Talk about Bryson Washington's next steps. What is it's hard for me as a fan to evaluate how a running back can evolve. What does he need to do to progress in his game?
Yeah, I do think Bryson Washington had a standout season last year, but we can't forget Cam Scatterboo, and I think Brooks at Texas Tech was very vitally important to them having success.
And I'll confess, I do forget Cam Scatterboo because it's still Arizona State being in the Big 12 tends to slip my mind more often than I like to admit. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah. But, I think Big 12 was loaded with running backs. Neal and, Gordon, they just took a step back. Their programs didn't play as well as they thought they would. But I can tell you one thing, winning and having a balanced attack helps. And I think when Sawyer Robinson took over as the starting quarterback, it kind of slowed everything down on the team, and it allowed Bryson and Pendergrass to really take off in the running game, which helped elevate every part of our offense. In year 2, what am I looking for in Bryson Washington? I will look for him to let the game come to him a little bit more suddenness, patience, burst, and speed. I think burst and speed will stay there. We got a great strength coach, and we got a great conditioning program that's going to get us ready to go. But the game should just start to slow down a little bit each and every year. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore, so he's been on campus a couple years. This is going to allow him to really see plays develop before and then be more patient. But then when he has the opportunity to have that quick suddenness, I think he's going to be able to take that to the next level. And not just for, Bryson, but also Dawson. I mean, those two guys complement each other extremely well. And the game should start to slow down tremendously for them, especially in year 2. Coach is going to put them in some really good packages and schemes that are going to allow them to get downhill and be the best versions of themselves. But you shouldn't see a lot of missed opportunities, missed holes. I expect more broken tackles. But then is that them setting up plays and really being bullies on the field.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned he's a redshirt sophomore. I think something a lot of people don't want to think about yet is if he has a good enough year, Baylor, let's say we're dreaming, right? Baylor makes the playoff and Bryson's a big part of that success. Like, dude could jump to the league. I don't know what his NIL situation is or what his draft stock would be. We just have no clue what he's going to do on tape this year. But, he'll be draft eligible after this season. That's important to keep in mind. 2 more questions for you. First of all, man, there is just a wide gap, I think, of expectations for this Baylor team. You've got folks like me who are pumping sunshine pretty hard right now and feeling like this is a playoff caliber roster if they can just execute. And then you've got some people who just see them kind of in the middle of the pack of the Big 12, 6 to 8 wins, not too dissimilar from the performance they put out last season. To you, Terrance Ganaway, not only a fan but a former player, what constitutes a successful 2025 season?
I just think playing sound fundamental football. We had a little discussion during our podcast this spring talking about what comes first, winning, or we place it above all else. And honestly, and I'm pretty sure Dave Aranda is looking at this the same way. Is let's play good, sound football. Let's be disciplined, limit mistakes, limit penalties, limit big plays on defense. Let's get big plays on offense. And I think if you start stacking those up, we're going to look up and Baylor's going to be a 10-2 season, 11-1 season, and we're going to have a chance to get in the playoffs and maybe even host a postseason game. And so,
can you imagine?
I can't imagine. And I told you about going to bowl games. Now, if it's on campus, I think I would jump down to Waco. But after driving 17 hours, 18 hours to Phoenix, and then watching that collapse in Cotton Bowl against Michigan State, I'm scarred.
Why you have to bring that up, bro? That was over a decade ago, bro.
I'm giving the fans something to look forward to, because if we host a game, that means we've played really good, sound football throughout the year. And I think that's what I guarantee that's what Dave Aranda is talking about. He's not talking about let's have 2,000 rushers, yard rushers. Let's not have 5. He's talking about make the plays when you have the opportunity and play elite football. And when you do that in the league like the Big 12, where people and teams can get over their skis, let's just play football. And I think it'll all iron out. But I think the expectation from the fans is that we're 9-3 and better. From a program standpoint and perspective, Dave Aranda is going to have his team locked in, ready to go. I mean, we upgraded in the safeties coach, secondary coach. We upgraded in the back end. We brought in speedy receivers that can be dynamic and make big plays. Defensive line gotten better, even after losing some really key players. Linebacker group got better. I mean, they are building. They have all the puzzle pieces to be a very successful team. Now, what do you have to focus on? Blocking and tackling, playing the basic form of the game. We don't need to get elaborate and throw, sidearm and throw 80-yard bumps. We just need to dominate line of scrimmage, run to the ball, pursue and tackle, and I think everything else will take care of itself.
And on that front, Terrance, just about the only area you didn't mention there is you returned 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen, and that offensive line last season, I would say, grew the most out of any position group. Weeks 1, 2, 3 looked like they were just horrible, and by the end of the season, that really was one of your strengths. Last question. We talked about the 2025 season. Baylor's schedule sets up really nicely for a run, but you've got 3 really difficult tests right up front. You've got Auburn, SMU, and Arizona State within your first 4 weeks. That's 2 playoff teams and an SEC powerhouse. Week 1, a Friday night game at McLean Stadium against Auburn. How important is that first game?
Yeah, I think it's the first test of really putting in all the work. We could talk about this stuff until the cows come home. The reality is, after the season, when the kids got back to campus in January, what were they working on? How were coaches ready to redefine the defensive, schemes? How were they, willing to redefine were players set up and how they were going to build a team around them? And I think if we don't start out fast, you could lose the locker room pretty quickly. I do think that this team, there's a lot of returning people that came back. I know we talked about that during the spring, but if this team starts off 3-1, it's totally different than starting off 1-3. I don't think we have the back end like we had last year when everybody's like, okay, we got our quarterback, we got our running back. All right, let's get behind them and let's go win some games. You start off 1-3 and everybody's looking around and like, man, I thought we were better than what we actually are. And when you think about a guy that's talented like Bryson Washington, okay, he has a really good year. He rushes for 1,500 yards. Maybe the NFL is not ready for him yet, but what's to say he's not going to go to SMU and get paid a couple of $1 million, or go to Alabama or Georgia and be one of their elite running backs who almost guaranteed. Now, it really hasn't worked out for running backs that transfer and want to play at a high level because they don't get drafted and they chasing NIL. I don't know what his motivation is, but to answer your question is we have to start off really hot this season, or the wheels will come off the wagon, and not just in the locker room. I think the fans will be ready to turn in their resignation as well. Dave Aranda talked about expectations in the previous question. It's almost a make or break year. I don't think he's thinking about that. I think he's thinking about let's play good football, but we got to start off the season really hot, or man, that locker room can get really toxic extremely fast, especially with some of these high-level starters that just came in.
Great stuff from Terrance Ganaway, my co-host on the Please Bear With Me podcast. Hey, if you're watching, I would love it. Just real quick pitch. Go to Please Bear With Me on YouTube. Subscribe and check out a couple of the videos there. In one of those videos, I remember, Terrance, you said, I'm going to know everything I need to know about Sawyer Robertson 10 minutes into the Auburn game. That is so important. Terrance, have a great day, man. Thanks for joining us on the Pete Sousa Show.
Thanks, Scotty. Have a good one.
Terrance Ganaway, Baylor legend, co-host of Please Bear With Me, joins us to talk Baylor football. We'll take another quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to tell you about 2 things you need to watch this weekend. One guy on the basketball court and one thing on Disney+. Trust me, don't go anywhere. This is the Pete Sousa Show.
Did you know nearly all stock price changes of 10% or more result from a single news headline? These news catalysts create trading opportunities every day. All you need is a little help to reach out and take them. It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
BosleyMD.com. I've always had thin hair my whole life. It breaks off at a certain length. In the last 6 months, I've noticed it just really bad. I mean, you could totally see it. I wear a hat a lot. I tried several different products. My experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again. BosleyMD.com.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner.
Since 2003, Bluehost has been empowering people to harness their brands online with innovative web hosting solutions. Trusted by over 2 million users, we're the longest-running WordPress.org recommended host. With Bluehost, you get a safer, better web experience, supported by the world's most popular site builder, and backed by our commitment to open source projects. Visit Bluehost.com today and take your website to the next level.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress. It's like a wearable hug for your nervous system that helps you calm down and feel better. The Apollo wearable will send gentle vibrations to your body, like a song you can feel instead of hear. You feel better, you sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at GrencoScience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Engels 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Welcome back to the Pete Sousa Show, live from the Alico Building in Waco, Texas. Something we're going to have to address with Pete next week. You know, the new Pope was elected yesterday, and it's an American, which is cool. First time in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church that an American gets to serve as Pope. That's really, really special, in my opinion. Also interesting, I know Pete's going to want to talk about this because he's a Villanova alum. And Pete, of course, growing up in Philly, even though he went to Richmond, I would say he probably bleeds Villanova as his team. And so I'm really interested next week maybe to get Pete's thoughts on our Villanova Pope. I saw another funny meme, Zach. This would be way funnier if I had it queued up, but it was that meme, you know, where there's a diver swimming, and then there's a shark underneath the diver, and then there's the megalodon shark underneath the big shark. You know that meme? It said something like religions funding the NIL programs, and the diver was like Liberty, and then the big shark was BYU, and then Villanova was the megalodon. Now that the Catholic Church has intimate, official, big deal ties to Villanova, so that was pretty funny. Hey, I want to go ahead and confess that I think we've done something wrong on this show this week, and that is we have not talked nearly enough about the Indiana Pacers. You know, we're friends with Cam, and we've talked a lot, you know, about the Celtics now down 2-0 to the Knicks, and Jalen Brunson, Villanova guy, right? There's your connection. We've talked about that series being really fascinating. We've even briefly, I've at least thought about, or we've mentioned the Nuggets and the Thunder. Why have we not talked about Cavs Pacers? And I'm a little embarrassed for the Pete Sousa Show because the only time we've talked about Tyrese Haliburton this postseason is when his dad confronted Giannis on the court after they beat the Bucks. And I don't think it's just us who are guilty of this. I think this is a larger problem in sports media right now. We are not giving Tyrese Haliburton his flowers and the love he deserves for what is happening. The Cleveland Cavaliers, mind you, finished first in the East. This is not like you know, some like middling playoff team. This is a team that finished over the Celtics, and we're acting more surprised about the Celtics being down than the Cavaliers. This is an unbelievable upset so far, with the Pacers being up 2-0, and of course being up 2-0 in large part due to Tyrese Haliburton hitting a game winner. We're going to show this without audio so don't get copyright struck, but I want to show you this game winner from 2 nights ago from Tyrese Haliburton. He gets the rebound, then comes out. Watch this. Watch his work. Step back. Boom. 1 second to go. That is what stars are made of. That kind of play right there is what we crave from our NBA superstars. That's exactly what we want out of big-time players in playoff basketball. And so I'm just struck by this today as we get ready to wrap up our week here, and we'll come back Monday and see what the series looks like. But let's contrast Tyrese Haliburton to some of the other big American stars that we've kind of anointed as the next generation of stars. Can you name a iconic playoff moment from Shea? I can't. Devin Booker? Nope. I know Jason Tatum has a ring, and I want to be respectful, but like again, let's just compare what's happening in that series against Jalen Brunson, also another star we might need to give a little more credence to, versus what Tyrese Haliburton is doing. And so I don't know if it's just because Tyrese averaged 18.1 points per game this season. That's not he's not an elite every game scorer. He was third in the NBA this season in assists. He's leading the playoffs in assists right now with over 10 a game. I'm someone who values that stat a lot. That's part of why I love LeBron James as a superstar. But what Tyrese Haliburton is doing right now in this postseason run so far is exactly what superstars are made of. It's not about your regular season numbers in the NBA, even though we do admire the guys who can put up 30 points a game. But think about the way we talk about James Harden versus the way we talk about Michael Jordan. Like, both guys had incredible regular season numbers, but they have radically opposite superstar status because of what they do in the postseason, right? One guy elevates, one guy shrinks. Haliburton seems to elevate when the lights get bright, when the Pacers need a big shot. By the way, Donovan Mitchell across the way for the Cavs had 48 points. They're down 2-0. So, I think we talked a couple weeks ago about narratives in sports media, the narrative around Shedeur Sanders that was perhaps unfair. I think there's been a really unfair narrative around Tyrese Haliburton, even when he was selected for the Olympic team, of like, why is this guy on the team? Like, worst player on the Olympic team. And then he's an all-star, and it's like, man, that's the most boring all-star. And now all we've talked about this postseason so far is his dad, and that's embarrassing. So I will be paying a lot more attention this weekend to the Pacers and the Cavaliers and Tyrese Haliburton. By the way, Pete Sousa show, we're pretty unapologetically like Big 12 centric, right? Pete covers Big 12 for ESPN. We're here in Waco. We talk a lot of Baylor, BYU, a lot of Big 12 action. This is a Big 12 kid, Iowa State basketball player. So he deserves our attention. He deserves our praise. And I want us to do better on this show. And I think you should do yourself a favor and start putting Tyrese Haliburton kind of next to Anthony Edwards in the conversation of young superstars rather than another level below. That's my pitch for Tyrese Haliburton. Before we wrap up today, I want to give you my pitch. Yesterday I got to talk one of my passions, which is soccer. Today I'm going to talk another one. And don't turn off the channel if you hate Star Wars or if you hate Disney. It's okay. I actually totally get it. I'm sitting here next to Zach Burke, who's told me, yeah, Disney took Star Wars and I was kind of out. I was kind of out. And I totally get that. But I think what they're doing right now with this show, Andor, and if you're familiar with it, you've maybe seen some of these stories. If you're not familiar with it, I hope you'll investigate it after we talk for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes here. I think they are totally giving Hollywood the solution to all of its flaws over the past decade. So here's the Hollywood issue, right? The Hollywood issue is it's all sequels and remakes. Right? That's kind of been the last decade or so in Hollywood is we don't know how to create an original story anymore. So let's reboot this franchise. Let's go back to this old franchise, or let's remake this Disney movie exactly the same, but with real people instead of animated people. I don't understand the obsession that Hollywood has. It's part of why a couple weeks ago we talked about Sinners being such a phenomenon in the movie theaters right now. It's making a lot of money as a rated R horror flick, but it's an original idea that's really well executed on the screen. It doesn't happen enough. Disney, in particular, has been in a really bad spot for about at least 5 or 6 years now, if not longer. Their three most valuable assets, Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars, have all cratered. I don't know if you've noticed lately. I'm sure you have, especially if you have kids that like superhero movies or like Pixar movies. They bought these three incredibly valuable assets, Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars. And for a time, we're really generating a lot of income and some hype around those brands, and now all those brands have been diminished. And Star Wars, by the way, when Disney bought it in 2012, I think was indisputably the most coveted, valuable IP in the world. I don't think it was particularly close, and now it's been very diluted into something much less than. This show, Andor, the finale comes out this Tuesday night. It's a 2-season show. It gives us the roadmap for the way forward in entertainment. Because Andor does three things that I think if Hollywood would follow suit, the movies, our television would greatly improve. I want to tell you what those things are, and I hope it'll motivate you to go watch it with me. One, the main thing that these movie studios and television studios, and Disney in particular, needs to do, hire a talented creative with vision and let them cook. Don't interfere with the talented creative. Give them the budget they need and give them the creative control they need. So Andor has been criticized as opposed to other Star Wars shows because they've supposedly spent something like between $600 and $800 million creating this 2-season television show. But that money shows up on screen. Compared to other projects, it looks real. It looks like you are completely immersed in the world in a way I don't know Star Wars fans have been since the original trilogy. And they hired Tony Gilroy and let him run with his vision. So Tony Gilroy, most famous for creating the Bourne movies. He's written some other things like Armageddon that you've probably watched and enjoyed. Tony Gilroy, incredible proven talent in the industry. They gave him the keys, they gave him the money, and the result on screen is better than anything else Disney's put out in a very, very long time. So step one, hire a talented creative. Step two, if you are operating within an existing IP, keep it consistent, but not necessarily interconnected. The reason Andor is so good is because if you have never watched Star Wars, or if you have not watched Star Wars since Disney bought it, you can follow everything happening in this show and be totally engaged, not be lost. There's not random drop-ins from that show over there and that movie over there. It is a completely self-contained story. And yet it is a story that leads us from the prequel era to the original trilogy era and establishes how a fascist empire can rise to ultimate authority and power and the real people's lives within it that make that happen or that allow that to happen. And so it really is just this beautiful political story set within the world of Star Wars, but feeling no need to give you all these Easter eggs and cameos to bring you back into the world of Star Wars. Now, there are some characters in the show that are in other Star Wars media. That's inevitable in a connected IP. But it's not forced. It's never for the sake of member berries and fans to tune in. It's always for the sake of the story. And then that leads me to my third point. Take your time, Hollywood, to write a well-developed story, because that is always better than rushing into audience-anticipated results. These media companies, Disney probably most guilty of all, have decided that they need to make money so bad, they're going to give audiences their kind of fever dream of what they wish they could see on screen, rather than writing a story that leads you intentionally through some well-thought-out moments, movements, and pacing to lead to a well-earned conclusion. Let me talk real quickly about some of the greatest television shows of all time, right? Consensus. If we said, what are the greatest television shows of all time? We might hear some people say The Wire, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. More recently, you might say something like Severance. What do all those shows have in common? And I have seen some of those, and I haven't seen all of those, but I know what they all have in common. They're not rushing to the next hype big thing because they need the fans to keep watching. They are setting you in their world. They're telling their story that's been well thought out, and they're leading you to a really dramatically satisfying place. That's what Andor does better than anything Disney's put out in a decade. Some people have said, oh, it's slow because there's not lightsabers and space battles, but it's a story. It is a 24-episode story that by the time you get to the point where we were at this past week, I am on the edge of my seat because we have been building towards these inevitable conclusions. They're so beautiful. So Hollywood, once again, hire creatives, let them have the keys. Don't feel forced to make everything interconnected. Take time to write a well-developed story. Andor does all these things really well. So here's my pitch to you, and then we're going to go into our weekend. This weekend, check out Andor. If you like Star Wars, but you're out on Disney content, I get it. This is legitimately amazing storytelling within the galaxy you already love. And if you don't like Star Wars, I would say even more so, you need to watch this show because it's a tremendous one-off experience that rivals any of those legendary shows I just mentioned in terms of storytelling, writing, drama, stakes, production value, all of it. It's awesome. Star Wars is something that's important to me. And if 2 of you watch Andor because I just went on that little sermonette, then it's been worth it for me. Zach Burke, anything else we need to get to today?
Not that I can think of.
Thank you, sir, for your help. Thank you for tuning in. Pete will be back in this chair next week. I'll be back in that chair. We'll be back to normal, but it's been a blast hosting the last 2 days. Want to thank once again our sponsors, Slovaceks, most of all. Stop in West and say hey to Slovaceks. Tell them the Pete Sousa Show sent you. We'll talk to you next week. It's going to be a fun weekend. This is the Pete Sousa Show. Take care.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.